Welcome back to the Sports Ticket on the Alive and Social Network from Dave & Buster's Southdale Mall in Edina. I'm Kevin Gorg, the only person in person here today. Thanks for coming out. Everybody getting their last-minute Christmas shopping done out here at the Southdale Mall. Very large crowd on hand, taking a break from that shopping here, playing some great video games, interactive games, watching some college bowl games on the televisions, and getting ready for the next 2 days with family and friends. And our two co-hosts are on the road getting ready to enjoy their holidays somewhere else. We'll start with Miss Kendall Mark down in Chicago. Kendall, thanks for calling in and being part of the show today.
Of course. Yes, everybody. I am on a train, and so if it gets a little loud, I'm sorry. A little ambient noise never hurt anybody, though, right?
That's pretty cool. With the boyfriend on the train, very romantic. Nicely done.
Oh,
and
yes.
as
So
always,
romantic.
we've got our ace in the hole, Scott Applebaum, and he's down in Pompano Beach, Florida, where it's not sleeting or snowing, and it's not 31 degrees like it is here.
Oh, good for you.
It was mid-80s today, but I have to say it was very windy. So I'm going to guess with the wind chill about 79.
Not bad, not bad.
No.
Actually, a pretty good
darn.
spot to be in the middle of December, especially with the weather here in the Twin Cities. You guys are both missing kind of an ugly,
I heard
murky
that.
day. It's not terrific for commuting. I've been out all day trying to finish my shopping. It's been a struggle, but I think we finally can say we put a bow on
You're
the
done.
Christmas shopping for 2015. And before we get into the Minnesota Wild, we get into the Odell Beckham situation and our Christmas wish list for the local 4 major
Nice.
teams in town. Let's talk about Monday, the very first remote location on the road show, Apples to Apples. Paint the picture, Scott. Where were you and how did it go?
We were at, well, it was the first stop of our live tour that we've been talking about. We were at the Trail Stop Tavern in Eagan. And it was standing room only. I know you guys were busy, but Grant and Aaron from the Sports Ticket came. They can verify this. And it was pretty rowdy, pretty crazy, very fun.
Now, can you confirm or deny that the calendar was released at this time? The calendar you've been working so hard on Apples to Apples.
Well, yes, I can confirm and deny it, and I'll tell you why. Your friend Aaron, everybody's friend Aaron, he's really the mastermind behind the calendar. So he's got it done. He put it on a website, which we'll get all the pertinent information to you guys. But he's only released the first 3 months so far.
Is Jerry Kill a part of the first 3 months?
He's number 2, and you can. And I think Grant probably can show you even there the first. It's phenomenal. The cover is also done, but I don't know if he's done it 3 months because he doesn't think the Orchard's capable of keeping. I don't know what the purpose is, but I think by week's end we'll have the entire calendar up.
And Kendall, imitation's always the best way to flatter somebody. And if we're going to do anything along these lines, we know that Apples to Apples is wildly successful at aliveandsocial.com on this network. And if we want to grow the Sports Ticket, we got to do exactly what they do. They had the Orchard. We have season ticket holders. Right. They have a calendar now. Kendall, we need a calendar. And I've been thinking about this. And I think with the Chicky Football League, the Fantasy Football League, I've got an idea for a calendar for all of us on the Sports Ticket side. I picture eye black. I picture, like, cutoff football jerseys. Kendall and her ladies. No, Kendall and her ladies providing, and we can get, I think you have 12 in your league. Yeah, there's 12 people in your league.
And you can double them up on a page.
And, of course, the winner will have the golden bra in their midst. And this could be our calendar for next year for the Sports Ticket. Kendall, your thoughts?
I don't know what to say, especially when we threw in how the Golden Brazier was going to make an appearance, because I'm definitely not going to win, but I'm definitely not going to lose. And I don't know. If I can be Miss January, I suppose everything's fine.
Why January?
I'm down. But only if you two are in the calendar, too, because we only have 10 girls in the league. So
I'm in.
You two need to make an
full
appearance.
confession, I do have Daisy Dukes and a cutoff football jersey, so I'm in.
That visual right now.
And by the way,
It's
I'm
not
wearing it
working
right now
for
in
me.
Florida. But wait, I have to get back to one thing on Monday. Do you mind? And then we can.
No, absolutely.
So you two were busy, which I understand. But I want to give an open invitation. January 11th at the Boulevard is Stop 2. Now, I know as of right now, neither one of you are busy, so we'll give you 3 weeks to figure something out. I mean an excuse. However, the night of the show, we got a couple people twerked us, tweeted us, all that good stuff. But one of them said it was a great show, but wanted to know where Kendall was. Twerk or tweet, I think it's the same. I'm not sure. But
okay. Oh, gosh.
They went home, said what a great show we had and how fun it was, but where was Kendall?
Oh,
well, you saw
Kendall?
that. Yeah, so
I did see
they're
that.
asking
that
for
was
you
so
guys,
thoughtful.
too.
People love Kendall.
Well, I don't think I have a wild game that day.
Oh, I know neither one of you do.
Calendar yet.
There's
don't?
a wild game on the 12th. I checked it out already. So I'm throwing that out there in front of the millions and millions of people listening to this and Dave and Buster's. January 11th. Think about it. Okay.
It's not far from here.
Okay, well,
it's very convenient.
Only if all of our season ticket holders and all of the orchards show up.
Absolutely.
And every single one of them has to buy me something and
That's
present
not a
it
problem.
as a gift.
All right, guys, we're going to get into the Minnesota Wild here shortly, but before we do that, we've got a decent crowd on hand here, and I want to help give out some free money for the loyal fans here of the Sports Ticket. This is our podcast every Wednesday. This is where you can find us. Our normal time is 5 until 6 o'clock. This is the special holiday edition. That's why we bumped it up from 4:30 to 5:30 today. It's the holiday edition of the Sports Ticket. Folks, we're here every single Wednesday for an hour. Usually Scott Applebaum and Miss Kendall Mark are right by my side here at this table near the bar. And for all of you out there listening, whether you're here at Dave & Buster's or across the podcast land here of the Sports Ticket, there's the new promo for free money and free games when you come to Dave & Buster's here at the Southdale Mall in Edina. Use the promo code #SportsTicket. So when patrons check in at Dave & Buster's in Edina via social media, they use the #SportsTicket. You can use Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. Once the patron checks in via social media at Dave & Buster's in Edina, using that promo code, you buy $10 in gameplay points and receive $10 in additional gameplay points for free. The offer will be good all day, Monday through Sunday, for the duration of 1 month. Valid Wednesday, December 23rd through next Wednesday, through all the way through January the 20th. So you've got almost a month to get this done. Limit one time per day per person for the $10 for 10 promo. If you use it on Wednesday, you can do the math. It's half price Wednesday, so you basically are getting $20 free dollars. You double dip with this promo code, and it's, again, #SportsTicket. And you can do that right now. Again, half-price games every Wednesday, open to close, 11 a.m. to midnight. Happy hour here Sunday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. with half-off cocktails, $4 imports, 22-ounce drafts for $3, domestics, and $1 off wine glasses. We're, of course, located where the old food court is, Southdale in Edina. And, again, if you check in with Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, use #SportsTicket and get an extra 10 for 10. It's free money from your friends here on the Sports Ticket. Now, guys, let's get into the meat and potatoes of the show. We are a sports show, and we got to talk something serious here. We'll have some fun with and I hope you guys are using this time, the downtime while I'm yakking here at Dave & Buster's, to think about the Christmas wish list we're going to provide for the Twins, the Timberwolves, the Wild, and the Vikings. All four teams from all three of us get one Christmas wish, and you got to put that wish under the tree and hope that it comes true. We'll do that later in the show. We'll talk about Odell Beckham and that clownery over the weekend with Josh Norman and the big showdown the Giants had, the Vikings' next opponent with Carolina. But let's talk a little Wild hockey. They had the big back-to-back home games on Monday and Tuesday to start the week. Bad news early on against Dallas. Good news in game number 2 last night against Montreal. And I guess around those two games, the big breaking news was Jared Spurgeon signed a 4-year contract extension for $20.75 million. The same day he did that, in game number 1 against Dallas, he did this.
Spurgeon through neutral ice, into the Dallas zone. Spurgeon fires, scores!
It was a beautiful goal.
And the crowd goes wild.
They did go wild. It was a whiteout that night in downtown St. Paul. So with the towels in play, everybody was wearing their whites. The Wild came out in unique fashion with their white road sweaters on. It was really cool. They had that 2-0 lead. It didn't last. But another player that is going to play a key role for this team is Charlie Coyle. And he had been a player that had been kind of peaking. You could see his game coming. And in both the Dallas game and the Montreal game, this is what he did.
And the Wild have numbers at center. Fontaine to Charlie Coyle. Coyle in,
And so I'll start with you, Miss Kendall, because you're at the rink on a regular basis. You work the in-house entertainment. The excitement level that Wild fans have for this team is the upside that's available with young players that still have not reached their peak potential. I think if you look at Zach Parise and Ryan Suter and even Mikko Koivu, who's having a breakout year this year, these guys are kind of at their peak form right now. But the real core of this hockey team is built around guys that are 26 and under, guys that are still building their careers and building their skill set. So I'll let you start with Jared Spurgeon. When you see that 4-year contract extension, you're a fan of the Minnesota Wild, you watch Jared Spurgeon perform. What excites you the most about his skill set?
Exactly. It's so funny because I think for a while when we were talking about defensemen, people were like, well, who are we going to get rid of to pick up somebody else? And they're talking about trades and everything. And Spurgeon's name came up, I think, by a few people that I would just randomly have conversations with. And, I mean, I didn't agree, but they had quasi-arguments for it. And the fact that they gave him that massive extension is not going to only do so much for his confidence, but I think that it does a lot for all of us who are invested in the future of the Wild. Like you brought up Mikko Koivu, for example. I think he was the third star of the week this week in the NHL because he's just, the whole offseason, he got so much flack, like people wanting Parise jerseys with a C on it because he should have been the captain over Mikko. And I think that Zach doesn't feel that way. I don't think, the team feels that way at all. But him just stepping up to the plate like that and being a guy that all these youngins can look up to and having Spurs with that contract, I'm a huge fan of Brodin. I love the way he skates. I just think he's so underrated. And you kind of forget about him because he's just so good at his job that you don't really notice him, which sounds weird, but as a defenseman, I guess that's something that I look at. And, Dumba getting hot when when his shot is on and it's forceful and deadly. It is. It's so exciting seeing these young guys, and I like the team that we have, and it's just those nights like against the Stars where we've got the 2-0 lead and we look like the team that we know we can be. We're completely full-on puck possession. There's a lot of control in the neutral zone, and then to have that lead slip away the way that it did, especially in the third period when we've got the empty netter. It stunk, but it was good to see it early. It's just that continuation and not falling back on our heels, I guess.
Yeah, you make a good point. The Wild have great young defensemen that are mobile and have offensive skills. Jared Spurgeon, a key part of that grouping. And it's amazing what he gets done in that frame of body. He's probably 5'7" at the most, 160 pounds. Mm-hmm. And on average, the NHL forwards that are going against him are around 6'2", 6'3", 220, 225. And he's able to separate those players from the puck, play good defense, be in good position, play a role in the power play, play a role in the penalty kill. The guy gets it all done, and it's great to see him into that contract. I saved Charlie Coyle for Scott Applebaum for a reason, because we're both old enough to remember when this was more of a man's man league, right, where it was, knockdown, drag-out hockey. We're going to see the alumni game, Blackhawks versus Wild, in February as a part of the outdoor game that the Wild are going to have over at TCF Bank Stadium. And it reminds us of that era of hockey in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and into the 80s when it was just more of a nasty league.
They just hated each other.
And Charlie Coyle, to me, is a throwback guy, right? Scott, you look at Charlie Coyle, and he's got the big body, he can skate, and he scored a goal last night that was absolutely remarkable. It was basically a 1-on-2 situation. He was on the left wing side, and he tucked that puck out around the defenseman's stick, dipped his shoulder, and then rotated from his backhand to his forehand, and in that process went upper shelf off the crossbar and in. And not a play the average hockey player can make, and no one can move the guy as he's coming to the net because of his big frame. And when I look at Charlie Coyle, I think of the guys we grew up watching. You look back at, people always talk about the Gordie Howe hat trick. And that's when you participate in a game, get in a fight, have an assist, and score a goal. And Gordie Howe did that dozens of times every single season. Charlie Coyle, to me, looks like that kind of guy. When you see Charlie Coyle play, tell me what you like about his game, Scott, and tell me what maybe frustrates you, because I still see Charlie Coyle as being a little bit too nice a guy.
Well, I think what's probably frustrating me and you and a lot of fans. Before I say that, I think going back to Monday night, if we would have just extended 4 more contracts, we would have actually won that game.
Yeah, I think you're right.
6-3. But anyways, that's, I think, back to Coyle. He's got just flashes of brilliance, and then you don't really hear from him for, 12, 15 games. Not in a necessarily bad way. I don't think he ever just for lack of a better term, sucks. But he is on the verge, and I go back to maybe a guy like Chris Stewart is someone that and this is nothing to do with Coyle, but Chris Stewart is a guy I think we could have used this year, and I understand there's many reasons why we got rid of him, but I think Coyle could be that guy if he got a little nastier.
I think you're right, and he's got the right size, the right strength.
Right.
He's a player that can play a lot of different roles. He can play in the middle as a center. He can play wing, and
there's times that he's nasty, and no one messes with him. But you're right. It's just there's times
he's got to do that more consistently.
Right.
He's got so much potential. I know that.
What about Kemper? What do we do?
Well, I think
he's
at some
so
point you got to trade him, and I know it's going to hurt to lose a goalie of his caliber, especially a guy like Kemper that you drafted. But once they signed Devin Dubnyk to that 6-year deal, at some point they were going to have to at least think about moving Darcy Kemper. And the fact that you've got Nicholas Backstrom on contract as a third goalie, which is very rare in this league, Chuck Fletcher's hands are kind of tied. Now, you can roll with two, but they're already up against that salary cap. And I hope somehow, some way, Darcy Kemper's able to stay here, because I do think having two goalies is a huge advantage. And we saw that back in 2003.
Especially the way he's playing.
He's been great, and he's a high draft pick. He was supposed to be a good goalie. And
he was 2 years ago. This is the Kemper of 2 years ago.
It is. Last year he just had some issues, and it just didn't work out for him. But he's really back in form right now, and could not be a nicer kid behind the scenes. He's a team guy, cares far more about the team result than his individual glory. Around there all the time at practice and at games, and kid's always got a smile on his face. Everybody in that room loves him. They give him a hard time because they kind of treat him like the kid brother. It's a really good situation. So maybe they can keep him. I've been hearing consistently now for the better part of the last month that they're going to try to move him, and so I believe that steam to be true. But you better get something good in return.
Right.
Goaltenders are hard to develop. They're hard to draft. They're hard to find. That's why we went out and got Dubnyk, and so
Does Backstrom have 1 year left?
This is his last year, yeah. And it's not Backstrom's fault that he got hurt. No. And he's been a great team guy. He's the all-time franchise leader in wins for goaltenders. So there's a lot of great things that Nicholas Backstrom has done for this organization. And so you tip your hat to him, and you almost kind of give him the wink and the nod here this year that he's basically getting paid to be a practice goalie, and he'd rather be playing. And I've even talked to him about that. It's not easy just to go out there every day and get pelted with 300-400 pucks every day at practice and then have no chance to go out there and compete in the game. He'd rather be playing, but he understands where he's at in his career. He's on the last leg of his career. It's been a great career for Nicholas Backstrom. He came over here from Finland really not knowing what he was going to have, and ended up having just a terrific go of it with the Minnesota Wild. So that's great. But at some point, they're going to have to make a decision one way or the other with Darcy Kemper. And right now, his trade value is really starting to heat up, because teams right now, especially teams that are outside of the playoff picture, know what an impact one solid goaltender can give you. The Wild demonstrated that last year, and so there'll be some teams that come knocking. And I know that right now the hot player that everybody's talking about is center Ryan Johansson down in Columbus. This kid has all-star written all over him, and he has not hit it off with the new head coach. When they brought Tortorella in, it has just not been a good mix for Johansson. This kid's got mad skills. He's still got 6, 7, 8, 9 years of good hockey in front of him. He's a power play guy. He's a rugged centerman. He wins faceoffs, and everybody, including the Wild, are interested in hearing what Columbus would need in return for him. So don't think that Darcy Kemper might not be the part of a deal right there, where Bobrovsky has not only struggled, their go-to goalie, he's also banged up and has been banged up now the better part of the last 2 seasons. So it's interesting to keep an eye on that.
We need, just Kevin, your opinion, are we one guy away, one guy like Johansson away, or in your opinion?
We're not far. Yeah, I mean, it'd be the right player at the right time. And I think you bring up Johansson. The one area that I look at the Minnesota Wild and say, man, they could be just a little bit better is the middle of the rink. It's the most important position up front for all the forwards. Clearly the centerman is a key spot. And a guy that has some skill, that's got some size to him, that can play that center position would be huge for this hockey team. And that's no disrespect to any of the centers they have. And Kendall mentioned Mikko Koivu is having an unbelievable year. If you had to pick out right now their best player to this point in the season, Mikko Koivu wins it, and it's not even close. And that's no disrespect to Vanek, Parise, Suter, Dubnyk, any of these other guys that are playing well right now. Mikko Koivu's been their best player. So for all those fans out there that continue to bash on this guy and say that Zach needs the C and all this mumbo-jumbo that Kendall brought up earlier, it's hogwash. It doesn't matter who's wearing the C. This guy is a freaking stud hockey player that deserves some respect for the way he plays, because he's not only putting up numbers right now that say he's going to get between 75 and 80 points in this 82-game schedule. He's their best defensive player. He's their best face-off guy. And he's the guy in the locker room that the young players look to and see a guy that will win at all costs. What I mean by that is they know how to approach the game, not only when the lights are bright, when the game is on and the broadcasts are started and the games are out there on TV for people to watch, behind the scenes, the days off, the optional practices that he always takes, the way he goes about his craft. It's a great influence on other players in that dressing room. So Mikko Koivu, I think, deserves to be the captain, and boy, he's backing it up on the ice so far this year. I think, guys, with the Wild now as they head into this break, interesting schedule coming up where you've got the Penguins in town and the Red Wings over the weekend right after Christmas. So you talk about a Saturday, Monday slate at home. The Penguins are a mess right now, and Sidney Crosby is banged up. He's doubtful to be a part of that game, which is kind of a bummer from a fan's perspective. Is there a player, Kendall, in the National Hockey League that is not on the Wild roster that if you were not working, if you were not a part of the in-house entertainment, that you would pay money to go watch and say, I want the Wild to win, but I want to watch this guy compete? For me, it's all about Sidney Crosby. For me, it's Sidney Crosby with a bullet. Now, it might change with some of the great young talent that's come into this league in the last couple years of the draft. McDavid, the kid in Edmonton, could be the next coming of a guy like Sidney Crosby, but for me, it's 87. You might have a whole different take, Kendall. Who would be the player you'd buy a ticket to go see?
Oh, gosh. I mean, there's a few of them that I just really like to watch because of the way that they skate and the way that they handle the puck is just so different than anybody else. I like, what's his name, the Colorado kid, McKinnon. I like him. He's fun.
He's terrific.
I really like watching him. He was when we had the playoffs 2 years ago. Every time the puck was near him, I'd freak out because you just never know what he's going to do. I like watching him. I hate to say it, and it's maybe because I'm in the city. But
I know where you're going.
You're on a train out of there.
You know where I'm going with this. Everybody now, the family around me is all staring because they're just waiting for me to say it. I do like watching Patrick Kane. He is fun to watch. Gordon's having a panic attack next to me because I actually admitted that. And I like the rivalry that goes with those games. Going out last year, coming here and watching the game where the Wild did beat the Hawks that time, if you remember. It was so fun though to watch two teams where there's several skaters that are just such good craftsmen when it comes to being able to play the game of hockey that I can't even I don't even know what they're doing half the time, and that's how exciting it is to watch. But those are probably two guys that I like a lot. There's so many others. I think we've talked about them before, but if I could watch Gretzky, that would be awesome. Obviously, that was,
He's like 60, though. I don't think it'd go well.
But I
don't think it's fair to Wayne. He's probably past his prime.
Well, Scott,
I'm saying, from all time, if I could watch anybody, that's what I'd watch. And I'd like to watch Lou Nanne, just because I'm from Minnesota.
He's
Lou Nanne?
He's everybody's grandpa. Everybody loves Lou Nanne. This is his hometown here. He lives in
Kevin,
Edina.
I think your take on Crosby is where I'm at. Clearly he's not at the same skill set he started with, but he's got that superstar mystique like Lemieux, like Gretzky, like some of those other guys that, just no one could touch him in his prime. And he's not even that old right now, but I know he's been banged up the last several years. But I would think he's still that guy. These young guys might be there one day, but he's still, I think, considered the superstar in the league. I get he's not at his old level, but I think that mystique is still there with Crosby.
Yeah, and I hope we get to see him Saturday. I want the Wild to win every time they lace them up, but you want to beat the Penguins at their best. They're struggling right now. Crosby's got the lower body situation. Hopefully he's able to play. He's the guy I'd want to see, and hopefully Saturday we get to see him, and we get to see the Wild go out there and take it to him. Let's shift gears here. We're at Dave & Buster's in Edina, Southdale Mall, the old food court area, brand new facility, gorgeous facility. There's private party rooms. There's video games as far as the eye can see. There's interactive games like skee ball. There's just a ton of fun out here. Great food and beverage. We're going to get into that shortly.
You know what else? Great prizes. I was there an extra probably 2 hours after the show last week with my kids, and you go into that prize room.
It's awesome.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it really is. And you know what? Like every great place to go watch sports, you got to have the good food. And so every Wednesday we're here. We're lucky enough to sample different things on the menu. And one of the things we're going to be sampling today is called the South Philly Burger. And guys, I wish I could tell you what my eyes are seeing right now. It is a gorgeous, giant burger with American cheese, and then they layer the burger. So after the bun and the burger, now you get the shaved, thin sliced steak directly imported from South Philly. You top it with peppers, onions, mushrooms, more melted American cheese.
On top of a burger.
You basically have to unhinge your jaw just to get that mouth around it, but it is delicious.
Mine comes that way.
It's yours has a special button you push.
No, it's just there permanently.
It's absolutely fabulous, and they've got all kinds of great burger options. They have a buffalo wing burger. They have a burger called the Hottie, so Kendall, you might want to try that one since you're kind of a hottie. And they also have...
Kind of.
Well, I don't want to get carried away here and butter up too much here at the holidays.
No, that's true.
I want her head getting
Blowing
too
my
big.
head up.
Well, no, we don't want that. But
Jordan's not drooling on your shoulder, by the way, is he?
No, he was for a while, but he's awake now. I brought up Patrick Kane, and now he's wide awake.
Okay, good.
So the nap is over, huh? There's no more nap.
It's over. Our napping's over.
Well, tell him that...
Blackhawk related, he's awake.
Yeah, he's awake. You know, it's funny. The sound of my voice talking on this show didn't wake him up. That he can drone through and ignore forever. But as soon as he brought up his favorite hockey team, he was awake.
The other food item, guys, is called Bang Bang Chicken, and tender, crispy, boneless chicken breast tossed in spicy Bang Bang sauce.
Wow.
Served in a bed of noodles tossed with Asian vegetables and spicy peanut sauce. It is spectacular. That's what we'll be sampling here today.
I could listen to you describe that all night long. Maybe that's creepy, but that was an unbelievable
that was so
explanation.
Creepy.
It's really going to be awesome.
Say that again.
And every Wednesday we're here, so we'll sample something every Wednesday. We'll talk about it for the season ticket holders out there that are listening. For some of the folks that are here in person, the menu items here are spectacular. Food and beverage, video games for everybody, and party rooms if you've got private parties. Dave & Buster's in Edina here at Southdale Mall is the place to be. Before, during, and after the holidays, this place rocks. I didn't realize it, but Fridays and Saturdays they're open all the way till 2 a.m., so if you've got some younger folks out in the crowd that want to have their drink on and come out here and do it responsibly and have a hell of a good time doing it, this is the place to do it. And very festive atmosphere tonight. The employees have all got their little Christmas hats on. It's everybody's got a big smile on their face. People are ready for a long weekend, family and friends in town, and a great holiday experience. We're going to put a little damper on it right now, though, because we've got to talk about a football situation that is a direct tie into the Vikings game this weekend. The Vikings take on the Giants. They're on the cusp of punching their ticket to the playoffs, which is very exciting for Mike Zimmer and the Minnesota Vikings. And they're taking on a team in the New York Giants that have one of the most marquee players in the game. The Vikings, of course, have Adrian Peterson. And when NBC signed on to do this game, both teams had a chance for some playoff positioning or punching their ticket into the postseason. But the big ad featured Adrian Peterson and wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. And Odell lost his mind over the weekend. The poor young man completely lost it. And Josh Norman, well known as not only a great cover guy on the back end for the Carolina Panthers, but also a guy that can rattle the cage of the opposition. And boy, did he rattle Mr. Odell Beckham. And we're going to let you guys listen in to the call, the Fox football call. I believe Troy Aikman and Joe Buck have the call. And this will describe the activity at MetLife Stadium, Giants and Carolina. Odell Beckham losing his mind, and here they are.
And again, it's Beckham and Norman downfield. Well, Josh Norman was on him. They gave a little bit of help, and like Odell Beckham came back in and took a shot on Josh Norman.
So after the game, they put the, as they are wont to do in the media, they've got to do this, they put the cameras and the microphones in front of Josh Norman, and here's what he sounded like.
What happened with you and Odell? I think we end up winning, and they end up losing. So what he did obviously is on display. You can see what kind of player he is. When you pull back the layers of skin and you really see what it is. Film don't lie. It was just crazy, man. I mean, I feel as if he knew what kind of game I can play, but him playing it, it wasn't as effective as he thought it was going to be.
And on the other side, when they put the cameras and the microphones in front of Odell Beckham Jr., Here's what he sounded like.
It's between you and Norman. Go too far.
You never want to hurt your team like that, and I've learned it all throughout my life. Always second man gets called, always that. It's just unfortunate. You go back and watch the film tomorrow and you learn from it.
Is it difficult in this physical game to keep your emotions in check?
No, it's not. You're out there competing. You're competing against one of the best teams in the league. And anybody who has a passion for football is going to go as hard as they can. So, like I said, it's unfortunate we lost to such a great team.
So it was a backhanded compliment.
Yeah.
Carolina is a great team, and I guess, Scott, I'll start with you. He said that it's not an emotional game where you lose your emotions, but we saw what he did. And if you didn't see the clip, I'm sure most sports fans have.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he tried to go head-to-head. I mean, he took his helmet and tried to spear.
Clipped him on the side. I think I got two takes. One, we might be having a different conversation if he was actually hurt and didn't get up and was concussed or something, because he bounced right back up. I think if he was hurt, because he very well... I mean, that was vicious. He literally ran 15 yards past and came back at full speed to do it.
It was awful. He got the one-game suspension, Kendall. He appealed that suspension. The hearing was earlier today, and in the last few minutes, what the breaking news is, the appeal was denied. So he is going to be out of the game Sunday at TCF Bank against the Vikings, and it's a huge break for Minnesota for certain. If you've got him on your fantasy football team and you're in the fantasy football Super Bowl, my condolences, because there is no replacement to Odell Beckham Jr. He is, in my opinion, as good as any wide receiver in the game, and it's not close. And you saw some of that even with Josh Norman. He was able to get that tying touchdown. And what the shame for me, Scott, is both these guys had a role. Now, there was, I think, $26,000 in fines levied on Josh Norman. There's a suspension and or fines for Odell Beckham Jr. Both guys acted like idiots. Beckham, the bigger idiot, in my opinion. But the shame of this whole thing is what gets lost with all the coverage of the shenanigans that those two had is there was one unbelievable football game going on.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. I mean, it was a game that the Giants were left for dead. It was 28-0. It was 35-7 in the third quarter, and the Giants came all the way back, and Carolina, trying to protect their undefeated season, has to, after taking that final punch from Odell Beckham and seeing the game get tied at 35, they take the ball and march right down with Cam Newton and line up for a game-winning field goal by Graham Gano at the buzzer. It was a 38-35 instant classic, and nobody's talking about the football game. And, Scott, that's what bothers me. These two clowns, especially Beckham, ruined what was one of the best games of 2015, and no one is talking about the football game.
If you watch the game after they tied it up, they went to Cam Newton, and he kind of went, okay, here's where I'm going to be the MVP right now. And he kind of had that attitude and took him right down the field. I got one quick other thing. What do you guys? Did you hear about the Tom Coughlin? Didn't realize he had 3 personal fouls during the game.
Tom's pretty old. He's getting senile, right?
Because when the referee goes personal foul on number 13, and he said it 3 times, was he not there? It was a very interesting take. He didn't know. He might have done it. He wasn't sure. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and a wide receiver getting 4 different 15-yard penalties. It's embarrassing, and I am.
That's ridiculous.
You look at my closet. I've got the Odell Beckham T-shirt. I am a huge fan of this guy as a football player. He's so much fun to watch, but he's got to grow up. I mean, the guy has got to figure out a way to understand that every team now, from this point on, is going to try to rattle his cage. They're all going to go after him, and if he continues to put himself in front of his team, which is what he did all afternoon on Sunday, he's going to continue to put his team in a bad spot. His value is going to be diminished, and no matter how talented you are, if you can't keep your wits about you, you're a grown man. You're an adult. Right. You're not some 12-year-old that had their toy taken away. I mean, you've got to figure out a way to overcome it, because every team now is going to test it, and every team is going to try to rattle that cage, because if he's the number one weapon for the Giants, they can get him off his game. That's how you beat that team. And for most of that game on Sunday, that's what Carolina did. And it's a shame that game gets lost on the shuffle when people talk about Carolina and New York over the weekend. And it's also a shame that people aren't talking more about Cam Newton and what Carolina is doing, because this is a team that lost their best weapon in the preseason. Kelvin Benjamin is their Odell Beckham. He's the guy that made their offense go. They've never really had a running game outside of Cam Newton just forcing his will upon people. Kelvin Benjamin is a 10 to 15 touchdown guy waiting to happen. He showed glimmers of complete brilliance last year. He gets hurt in the preseason. People write off this team, and now here they are, 14-0, and they're on the cusp of running the table. They're big favorites to do just that. And because of Odell Beckham and Josh Norman, nobody is talking about, and nearly as much as they should, Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers. It's spectacular what these guys are doing. And their last regular season loss, guys, was right here in the Twin Cities.
31-18, I believe.
At TCF Bank Stadium last year. It's the last time they lost in the regular season. This is remarkable what those guys are doing. So I'm hoping the Beckham thing goes away. Now that the suspension appeal has been denied, he won't be on the field Sunday. The Vikings are I think 6 or 7 point favorite this weekend to beat the Giants. I think they get the job done. And if they win Sunday, they're a virtual lock to make the playoffs. And then
they could actually make the playoffs before the game.
Yeah.
And it's very likely.
Right.
So I guess the question I have for both of you, and I don't need a long, rambling dissertation, but if
Kendall.
Well, it's for both of you. Oh. Yeah, Kendall, I love it. She's the baby sister. You got to pick on her. I get it. All right, Kendall, I'll start with you. If the Vikings watch during the day and see that Green Bay loses at Arizona, so Arizona beats Green Bay, which they are favored to do, the game likely won't matter. The game basically, other than you want to win and maybe some playoff positioning if you advance to the second or third round of the playoffs, it still will come down to the game at Lambeau Field to decide the division, no matter what you do against the Giants. Adrian Peterson's banged up. Yes or no, Kendall, do you play your star running back in that game?
Absolutely not. I actually just picked up Jerick McKinnon in my fantasy.
Oh,
because
that's why.
Nice. Taught you well.
Because I thank you. Yeah, I do listen to you, Gore. I know. I really do, though. But, yeah, I don't think that what's the point? I understand that NBC, there's going to be pressure from them because they already don't have Odell Beckham Jr. playing. But I mean, if we really want to make a playoff push, you can't have Adrian Peterson hurt. Like that's just it's stupid. And you know, we just talked about. I wanted to say about the Odell Beckham Jr. issue. You know, these guys act like that. I mean, look at Johnny Manziel. Obviously, he couldn't play on the field as well as he did in college, and that was a huge part of it, which is a huge difference between the two of the guys. But his behavior and his antics have driven him, basically driven him out of any kind of conversation in the National Football League. And he was so promising, and it was because of who he acted like off the field. And these guys, it's just like, do you not understand that there's thousands of guys who would beg for the opportunity that you're given? Okay, I get it. You're really good at it, but there's always somebody waiting in the wings to take over your spot, and nobody cares. Like, nobody has time for that. And so that's my opinion on Odell Beckham Jr. This weekend, if Green Bay would lose, yeah, I don't see any point in playing Adrian Peterson.
And Scott, I'm probably guessing you agree, and I'm on the same side of the ledger.
Point, though. I do agree for the most part. However, I think you needed to decide, can we beat Green Bay the last game of the season? Because if we run the table, we win the division and would not have to go to Green Bay. So there is incentive. Now, I don't personally think we're going to go to Green Bay the last game of the season and beat them. So it's kind of a catch-22.
Well, I think you have a better chance of beating them in Week 17 if you rest Adrian this week, and I think you can beat the Giants without Adrian Peterson. From what I saw over the weekend, Peterson was really a non-factor in the win they had over the weekend, and McKinnon was great. You still got Asiata. You got Teddy Bridgewater playing his best football of his career. He's kind of coming into his own. I think you can beat Green Bay in Lambeau Field, but I don't think you can beat Green Bay down there without Adrian Peterson. Because when you go to Lambeau Field late in December, early January, whatever it's going to be, bad weather is going to be a factor. And you're outdoors. Right. You're going to need to run the football. And Jerick McKinnon's not my idea of December football at Lambeau in the frozen tundra. Adrian Peterson is. He's a creature. Yeah. He's a beast. And, you know, I think along those lines with Linval Joseph, also listed as questionable this weekend, you may want to rest your big run stopper because the Giants have no running game. They have 4 running backs. They rotate in. And the most important thing they do with running backs is throw the ball to the backfield. Shane Vereen's a guy that does pretty well along those lines. But you're going to want to have Linval Joseph to stop Eddie Lacy. For whatever reason, he's fat and slow against everybody else, but against the Vikings, the guy looks like the next coming of Earl Campbell.
The Terminator.
So I do think there are some players that need to rest this week, and I think you can beat the Giants with not all of your key players on the field. And I'll use Linval Joseph and Adrian Peterson in that realm. I think the Vikings are in a great position to go to Lambeau Field and win with a healthy Adrian Peterson. And the biggest problem is going to be talking Adrian Peterson out of playing in that game because he's a competitor. They're at home. He'll want to play. I get that. TV. National TV, the whole bit. But it's not about them. It's about your team and what gives you the best chance to move along the way and win a division. And hopefully they can do that this weekend. We've got a little time left for one segment, guys. We're going to cue up the Christmas music. And we're going to go around the horn. And we're going to play a little music. And we're going to talk about a Christmas wish for our 4 local teams. We're talking Twins. We're talking Timberwolves. We're talking Wild.
Wow.
And we're talking Vikings. And it's not going to be it's going to be a one-sentence wish. We're not going to get into the X's and the O's and the Y's and the why nots. It's going to be a simple one-sentence thing. Your Christmas wish for that team. And we're going to start with the Minnesota Twins. And we're going to start with you, Scott Applebaum.
This is easy.
Your Christmas wish for the Minnesota Twins.
And I mean this in the nicest way. I wish Terry Ryan would get hit on the head, get temporary amnesia, and just go start signing guys and trading guys and get the couple missing links that we need, because I think we've got a basis of a really good team.
All right. Very good. I like that. Christmas wish for the Twins, Miss Kendall.
Well, I'm going to say kind of the same thing, but without being so aggressive and
I apologize.
wishing ill upon other people in the holiday season, Scott
Just temporarily
Applebaum.
concussed.
My Christmas wish for the Twins is that we get some pitching, period.
That's perfect, because it's going to tie into my Christmas wish, and I know we're going to score runs. We got the new sensation from Korea. We've got a lineup right now with Miguel Sano, I think, anchoring the offense. I like where this team is going offensively. My Christmas wish for the Minnesota Twins is for the starting rotation to have a top 5 earned run average. Not in baseball, just in the American League. Top 5 ERA in the American League is my Christmas wish for our Minnesota Twins. Now we're going to segue to the hard court for the Minnesota Timberwolves. We'll start with Miss Kendall. Miss Kendall, your Christmas wish for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
My Christmas wish for the Minnesota Timberwolves is that we have a winning season in honor of Flip, because I think all those guys need a little bit of a break for that.
Love it. Love it.
That's pretty good.
Scott, your Christmas wish for the Wolves.
Kevin Durant falls in love with the Mall of America and has to play for the Timberwolves.
Or Dave & Buster's.
I meant Dave & Buster's, yes.
I love it. I love it. All right, that's quite a wish you got there. You better really wish hard.
Well, it is Christmas, and
Santa comes
listening.
up with. My wish for the Wolves is this: that Ricky Rubio can maintain good health for an entire season. Because I believe with Wiggins and the big cat purring, Karl Anthony Towns, if you've got Ricky Rubio out there moving that basketball around, this is a team, to Kendall's wish, that's going to be a winning team, and in the next 3 years is not only going to be a playoff team, but they're going to win a playoff series. Ricky Rubio, healthy for an entire season. I've yet to see it. I don't even know if it's possible. Those beautiful almond eyes, I get it. We all love Ricky Rubio. Stay healthy for a whole season. Now we're going to move to the Frozen Pond, the Minnesota Wild. We'll rotate back to Scott Applebaum from Apples to Apples every Monday, 2:30 on the Alive and Social Network. Nice enough to be a part every Wednesday of the Sports Ticket here at Dave & Buster's. Your Christmas wish for the Minnesota Wild.
Conference final sweep of the Chicago Blackhawks.
Wow, you are going big or you're going home.
Absolutely.
Conference final sweep of the hated Hawks. Miss Kendall, tough to follow that up. Your Christmas wish for the beloved Wild.
I really want to pick up a big scorer. I want to pick up somebody who every single game you can depend on to get in the net.
Well, maybe Ryan Johansson in Columbus is the guy that you're wishing for. And if he comes here, I think he'd be a huge addition for this team. And I think he'd give them a chance to do exactly what Scott needs them to do for his wish. My Christmas wish is a little more simple, a little more realistic. I want home ice advantage in the first round of the playoffs. I think it's very realistic. I think this team is good enough. Whether they get Johansson or not matters not to me. Home ice advantage in the first round. At some point, yes, beat the Chicago Blackhawks and make a run at a Stanley Cup. It all ties together for me. They're one of the best home teams in the National Hockey League, and I do think for the Wild, that home ice advantage could pay them huge dividends in the postseason. The Vikings are relevant again, guys. People have got their purple on here at Dave & Buster's in Edina. We'll start with you, Miss Kendall. Your Christmas wish for the Minnesota Vikings.
that one's tough. I want to win in Green Bay, and I want to, murder Green Bay. I don't want a little field goal win. Okay. I want a big win in Green Bay.
Holidays don't seem to matter anymore now.
Well, it's
murder.
The word murder is more of an adjective describing the scoreboard.
It's not an aggressive sense. I meant it in the
nicest way possible.
Randy.
The nicest way, the most Christmassy sense I could mean it.
I agree. So I'm with you.
Scott, your wish for the Vikings, your Christmas wish.
Oh, well, the obvious is to go to the Super Bowl, but not win it till we play here at 17. But I think, you know what I want? I want to have the entire team for a game. Everybody.
Yeah.
All the injured guys. Let's have
all together, like a family.
One big happy family, purple family.
Yeah, mine ties into both of your wishes. I just want a division title. I think that the playoffs are a foregone conclusion. This team has taken a remarkable step forward this year under the leadership of Mike Zimmer. I love him as a head coach, love the way he goes about his business, and they're going to be in the playoffs. Now, the next step for me, for my Christmas wish, is to win the division. You win the division, it puts you in a completely different spot to not only make the postseason, but to win once you get there. And I'll acknowledge that the big three are significantly better than the Vikings. Carolina, Arizona, and I'll throw Seattle in the mix as well. On paper are better teams, but the unique situation in the NFL is it's a one-game playoff. It's a tournament, and things can happen in a hurry. There can be injuries. There are different matchups, and teams get hot. So let's win the division. That's my Christmas wish.
And guess what else? On that note, nobody, including Paul Allen, really thought we were going to get to the playoffs. So who knows?
You never know. You just never know. That's the beauty of it. And they are on the cusp of punching their ticket to the postseason, whether they have to beat the Giants or they get some help earlier on Sunday remains to be seen. So we're going to close the show, guys, by along those lines with the Christmas wish. Talk about what we're most thankful for here at the holidays on the sports ticket. Kendall, it's been a whirlwind, right? We didn't even know this was possible 3-4 months ago. I remember hanging out with you at Canterbury Park as you did some work for their website, talking horses with some trainers and jockeys that you had never seen before or probably heard of. And we had that really fun night where you were out there with a big family outing that I had in one of the suites at Canterbury. And now here we are, week by week, every Wednesday here at Dave & Buster's with the sports ticket. What are you most thankful for? And it doesn't have to be anything related to broadcasting. It can just be family-related or the young lad, that handsome devil next to you as you journey your way down for your Christmas gatherings. Wink, wink, nod, nod. But most thankful for this year in 2015 as we get ready to turn the page.
Oh, geez, that's a big one. You really threw that one on me, Gord.
Well, you know what? It's
plus there's 7 days left. You never know.
Yeah, who knows what could happen?
Right.
I think the biggest thing for me is, like you were bringing up with Canterbury, at that point, I knew what I wanted to do with my career. I knew that I love sports and I love talking to people and I love talking about it, but it just didn't seem like something that I could do. And to be able to be in the various positions that I'm in and to be able to do the show is fantastic. And that's, I guess, not the thing I'm most thankful for, but it's something I'm really thankful for. At the end of the day, I'm most thankful that the people that I love and care about are all happy and healthy and in a good place, and so am I. I know that that's the corniest, most typical answer you can say, but I am, as the only woman on the show, I have to bring that to the table.
It works.
We've been accused before.
No, it absolutely works.
I have to reflect and bring that to the conversation.
Scott, you're lucky enough to work with your boy, and
right.
Apples to Apples. Who knew when that podcast started on Mondays? It's just amazing the traction that you guys have gained. We've talked about the Orchard. We've got the calendar now. We're taking the world tour, which has started already. We'll be at the Boulevard, as you mentioned, next time out. But there's a lot of things I'm certain, even behind the scenes, that you want to be thankful for. I had a chance to meet your lovely wife here at Dave & Buster's last Wednesday. As you reflect on that over the holidays, what are you most thankful for, sir?
Well, and obviously family, and we lost my dad this year, who loves sports and would have been at Dave & Buster's 2 hours before any of us. But it's nice that we all have that bond over sports, and my wife and kids, and it's nice to be able to do the show with my son, and then branch out and meet you two, the major leagues, as I always say. And it's just fun to talk sports, have some fun, meet new people. I'm having a blast. So, we're all healthy, and my family's all healthy. We're able to travel a little bit together and get together for the holidays, so I don't think there's anything better than that.
Yeah, you're right about that, and we are very fortunate. Anybody that gets to talk about sports and have fun and get paid to do it in any area, it's a good thing, right? And Kendall talked about the Canterbury stuff. That's kind of where my broadcasting career really kind of took off. Back in the early 2000s, I was lucky enough to get out there as the track analyst and been a part of the Canterbury family now for 15 years. And with the tip sheets this summer, that's been spectacular. The dovetail to KFAN with Paul Allen, and then to this podcast, and the time I've spent now for 10 years on the air at Fox Sports North. It's all been great. But the thing I'm most thankful for, and the career is a blessing, and every day is a gift, and you feel like you're stealing when you walk out of the rink. But I've got 3 daughters, and they're all happy right now, and they're all healthy. And the oldest just got back from Florida. She goes to college down there. Had a chance to connect with her last night. We got to go do some volunteering in town at the Salvation Army. And, a couple years ago, she wouldn't have wanted to volunteer or hang out with her dad. But now that she's been away for a few months, I think she likes her dad again, which is really good because that changes. As you know, with kids, it can change. I've got a 20-year-old, an 18-year-old, and an 11-year-old, and get to see them again tonight, have a private Christmas party just with them and the young lady I live with and do the Christmas thing with them. And then we're going to see my family on Christmas Eve and then the Gales family on Christmas Day. And just to have all that right in front of you after all the shopping and all the stress and all the complaining, and trust me, I've done plenty of it. Probably shouldn't have. It's great to now finally just sit back and enjoy what the holiday's all about. And that's just to be with the people you love the most. And I put my daughters at the top of that list. And, one of my daughters goes to Lakeville North. Her name is Madeline. She's a senior there. And we all know, tragically, in the last month, the 2 boys that lost their life in a car accident from Lakeville South. And it ties into a good friend of mine, Tim Flynn, who played football when I played hockey at St. Thomas back in the late 80s. Tim Flynn's a St. Paul police officer. It was his nephew that was one of the 2 boys that passed away. And I think about those families a lot this time of year especially because it's their first holiday without their boys. They were seniors. They were both going on to do great things, both on the athletic field and off of it. And I think that a lot of times, and I'll put myself in this category, I'm as guilty as anybody, you start to think about the minutia that is your world and your stress, and you forget about what really matters. And the fact that my 3 daughters are in town, they're happy and they're healthy is all I need this Christmas. And so I'm thinking about those folks down in Lakeville and the folks up at that school out east in Connecticut that lost their kids a couple of Christmases ago. Their holidays will never be the same, right? And the folks that tragically out in San Bernardino lost family members, their holidays are ruined too. So you think about that and you remember that you've got a lot of blessings. You guys are both traveling and going to cool places, and we're all pretty lucky to have the family and friends we do. And, yeah, Scott, it's your dad. That hits home because my parents are getting to that age now where I think about it all the time. And you take some of that for granted when they're here, don't you? And it's difficult when they're gone.
Time absolutely does fly, and very few people, including probably all of us, we don't slow down, as they say, to slow down and watch it a little bit. And it does. I mean, and especially when you have kids, Kendall, that day's going to come, and before you know it, they're 21.
In a blink. And it's a cliche, but I'm telling you, I never believed it until I lived it. It happens in a blink. They go from diapers to college, and you don't know what happened at the time.
I'll tell you just quickly on a side note. So we did the show Monday. Drew turned 21, and my wife bought Drew a beer. I guess I didn't. I mean, that day came. He was in diapers, and now my wife's buying Drew a beer.
It's unbelievable.
21 years later.
It's just.
And eventually we all grow up, and we like you guys more, too.
You come back to us,
so?
right? You got to come back.
Children.
Yeah, let's hope so, because there's been some ups and downs along the way with teenagers. I'll say that. But
Drew hates me every Monday. I know that.
You pick on him, though, just like you pick on her. You pick on him. There's no doubt about it. Hey, both you guys, thank you for all the hard work and making this show as much fun as it is every single week here on the Sports Ticket. Travel safe as you are on that train. Miss Kendall, as you are down in Pompano Beach. Mr. Scott, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all the good stuff that goes along with it. I'm thankful for you two guys. Be good.
Right back at you. Thanks, and happy holidays to everyone out there.
Love you guys and
happy
all the listeners.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Enjoy your family and friends. Thanks for coming out to Dave & Buster's here in Edina. We'll be back next Wednesday, as we are every Wednesday. Non-holiday hours next week, 5 to 6. You can podcast this, download it whenever you want. It's at aliveandsocial.com. This show is called The Sports Ticket. I'm Kevin Gork from Fox Sports North. Thanks for being a part of it, and enjoy your Christmas the next 2 days. Thank you.